Tom Andreas here, and I just want to go over some of the safety rules that we've got to know to be able to operate the sliding compound miter saw in a safe way. And the first thing I want to go over with you is when you start this saw, it torques, and if you put it in the middle here and pull it, I don't know if you notice that, it wants to torque up. And so when you go to start the saw, you want to have the saw in the up position. And it can't torque up because it's already at the top of its travel. So when you go to start the saw, you always want to start the saw in the up position, not halfway down. So we'll go like this right here. Now, when you turn the saw off so that it doesn't torque and pull down on you, then we'll leave the saw in the down position till the end of the cut. And then we'll raise it. So this is really a great saw because it does so many different things. The first thing that it does is cut a miter. If we swing it all the way over into this position, it'll cut all the way to 60 degrees. And back over to here, it will cut a 45-degree angle. What you hear popping are what's called the detents, which are the common angles that you use. And so if you want to land right on the detents that most carpenters use, you can just slide it and it'll pop to it and then it will lock. So to lock it in place for a miter, you use the miter lock, which is to push this down right here and then unlock it right here. So then the next thing that it does is it slides out. And so that's where the real power of this blade is when it comes out. This tool will cut a much, much deeper piece of work all the way back in. And so that's really the power of it. And then if you're going to be using like for crown molding or other applications, you can use the compound part of this saw, which allows it to lay over on its side. And so not only can you cut a miter, but now you can also tilt that miter over on its side. And that is something that we never could do with any of the old radial arm saw type of equipment. Okay, so a couple of things you need to know about. The safest way to use the saw is to adjust these stops on the back. And these open up so that you can do the sliding compound miter operation, but then if you're not going to be doing that and you're just going to be cross-cutting, you want to close them up as tight as you can with the blade. And what that's going to do is it's not going to allow the wood to be kicked back by the blade when you go to make the cut. So we'll go ahead and lock those down. And I'll put just a 2x4 in here. And you can see that I've got the laser installed on it. The laser is really helpful because it just helps you know where that blade is going to cut. Another really good quality safety device on this tool is this retractable blade guard. And so it's all automatic, and if you look, as I push it down, the blade guard is automatically retracts. And that is really nice because even if you get your hand up under here, which if you're really busy and things are moving fast, sometimes you can get your hand a little too close and you're still protected. It also has this wheel on the bottom so that as you pull over things, it will go ahead and release and ride up over onto the 2x4. So that's a really great design for safety. Okay, so to make a regular 90-degree cut, we're going to start the saw in the up position and just come down through the wood nice and easy. The saw is all the way to the back at this point, and we're going to learn to do that cut first. So I leave it in the down position until the blade stops. What that does in terms of safety is it keeps this piece of wood from getting caught by the blade and tossed into the back. Okay, so the next cut that we're going to do is a miter cut. And I'm going to swing it over to 45 degrees. And the first thing that we want to remember about the saw is that we always want to have our hands 4 inches from the blade. And so that's about 4 inches. For most people, 4 inches is across the front of their fist. And so if I set that here, I know that my hand will be just fine as I make this cut. So it's really important as we make the cut though to apply down pressure to the table and back pressure toward the fence. So I'm pushing down and back when I make the cut. So I start in the up position. And again, that piece is released. So now I've made a nice 45-degree cut. One thing you'll notice too is that my hand is on the wide side of the blade. I never would hold the material on this side of the blade and make this cut. That would be unsafe, because if I were making a miter on the opposite side, I would place my hand in the front and back. And hold it down, and I've made a nice safe cut. So, on either side, remember that your hand should be on the open side, on the widest angle. That's the safest way to do it. All right, so another very common application for this saw is to make a sliding cut, and we're going to make a sliding 90-degree cut. There are a couple of tricks to making this type of a cut. If you think about this blade, the teeth are pointing this way, so as it goes down through the piece of wood, it's going to cut down this way, but then when it exits the wood, the teeth are going to chip. They're going to leave chips on the bottom of the piece of wood. So I'm going to show you a technique for cutting a piece of plywood or some type of substrate that will make your cuts a lot cleaner with this type of a saw. So the first thing I'm going to do is start it. So what you saw me do there was to cut this piece halfway through. Then I bring it out all the way halfway through the wood, then make the plunge cut, and then notice which way the teeth are going at this point. The teeth are pointed up, so it won't chip as it comes back. So that is really a technique that cabinet makers use pretty often when they're using this type of a saw. Just a couple of things about my miter bench. Having a miter bench where the work is supported on both sides really improves safety. And this bench has a number of things built into it that are really nice. A lot of storage is put in here, and then underneath you've got all different kinds of scraps and so forth in a shop. But I think one of the things that's most important to me in terms of speed is that I never have to transfer a measurement. And that's because what I've done is put a piece of tape, this is metal tape that you can buy, and I've made a stop. And so all I need to do is find out precisely where I want that to go and clamp that stop on there, and boom, I can cut precisely whatever it is that I want. And so I don't have to make a mark on the piece of wood, I don't have to set the saw and look at where the saw blade's going to hit. I've got that tape set up so that it's absolutely precise with the blade. If I drop the saw through it, it's exactly cut to whatever the dimension is that's over here on the tape. So that's very helpful. I've also installed a trash can right here for small pieces, very fast, just to take the extra piece and drop them down. And so also then another huge thing is this dust collection center. We know that dust is a lot of the glues are even carcinogens. So we have to be really careful about glues. A lot of the stuff that we're getting from other countries doesn't have to meet the same standards as the glue laminates that are here in the United States. And so you want to get rid of your dust. And so if you look at this has a dust collection down behind the saw. The dust ejects out the back. It's all pulled and evacuated away from where you would breathe. Then the light that's right here, especially for a guy of my age, where your eyes have a little bit more trouble adjusting to contrast and being able to see contrast, the more light that you can put on that, the better off you're going to be for quality. And again, the laser. And here's, of course, the dust port. And if you do use PVC pipe, make sure that you ground your PVC pipe. And I don't know if you can see that right now, but there's a little bit of copper wire here that goes through, and it grounds to the saw and all the way out to the building. So that keeps sparks from generating from static electricity. So anyway, let's be safe with this tool. It'll do some really great work for you, and sliding compound miter is the way to go. It replaces a lot of tools.